In this video, we're going to be examining the area of a triangle. And as you can see, the area of a triangle has a formula of 1/2 of the base times the height. Let's take a look at the first example here. We have a right angle, a right triangle. You can see by the notation of the right angle symbol here that this is a right angle. We must have a right angle in order to determine the area of a triangle, and it has to be positioned at the highest point. So if we take a look at our formula here, this particular problem is going to be relatively easy to figure out because literally all we need to do is plug in the numbers. So we're going to have an area that's going to be equal to 1/2 of the base, which is 3.5, times the height, which is 2. And this is considered units. This is not in terms of centimeters or inches or feet or yards. It's considered in units. So let's go ahead and figure this out. So if we were saying that we had, let's clear this out, we had 0.5, which represents 1/2, times 3.5, which is the base, times 2, which is the height, our answer will be 3.5 units squared. So let's go ahead and write that down. 3.5 units squared. Now this particular problem was easy because we were given the right angle. Let's take a look at a little more challenging problem. Here we're given an obtuse triangle. There is no right angle given. There are not even measurements given. We're just given a ruler, but we can find the area. Now recall, the area is equal to 1/2 of the base times the height. The ruler is conveniently located at the base, and in this instance here, it is 3.123 centimeters, 3.3 centimeters. So we'll go ahead and write that down. Here we go. It is 3.3 centimeters. Okay, now the height. The height is a little bit more difficult to determine here, 3.3 centimeters. The height, we need to calculate the height as being from the highest point. So if we made a right angle inside the triangle, that would not be enough to cover the area that's out here. We need to find the area from the highest point from the base. So what we're going to need to do is extend this line. So let's extend the line out. And we don't measure this part of the extended line. But what we're going to do is make a right angle. So what we're going to do is rotate the ruler and make sure that we're also still measuring in centimeters. It looks like it's 3. What we're going to do is draw a perpendicular line. You can see the distance here from 0 to here is 3 centimeters, so I'll write 3 centimeters. We'll move we'll move the ruler to show that we've created a right angle here. And now all we need to do is plug in the numbers. So now we have 1/2 of the base, 3.3, times the height, which is 3. Let's bring in our calculator. We'll clear out the numbers from the previous calculation, and we have 0.5, which again is considered 1/2, times the base, which is 3.3, times the height, which is 3, and we have an answer of 4.95 centimeters squared. 4.95 centimeters squared. Now let's take a look at this triangle over here. It looks very familiar to this here, and in fact it's exactly the same, it's just reversed. But let's see where the base and the height fall. The base, we're accustomed to seeing the base at the bottom, but here the base is at the top. And the height is going to be along the side here. So let's bring the ruler over and let's start measuring. So the first thing we do is we will measure the base. And again, the base is considered to be up here. So we have 3.3 centimeters, so we'll write that down. 3.3 centimeters. We have the height, and first of all, we need to draw a line here to extend it in order to make a perpendicular line in order to create a right angle. So we'll go ahead and do that. I will extend this line here. I don't know how much we'll need. Now we'll rotate the ruler and bring this over. And we're going to be measuring from here to here. And we're going to call that 3 centimeters. We'll move the ruler. I'm going to move the ruler off the screen here. And as you can see that we have created a right angle. We've drawn a perpendicular line and created a right angle. So now our base is 3.3 times the height, which is 3 centimeters. Don't forget I had to include that 1/2, so it's 1/2 of the base, which is 3.3, times the height, which is 3. And we're going to get the same answer. We're multiplying the same numbers out. We're going to get the same answer. So our answer is going to be 4.95 centimeters squared. Let's take a look at one final problem. Here is another instance where we're going to need to create a right angle. Now, let's take a look. We have this particular triangle. We'll see that the ruler, we're going to be forming a right angle along the line here. So I'll go ahead and create that right angle. There we go. As we can see, the distance is, whoopsie, the distance is 5 centimeters. So we'll go ahead and write that down. 5 centimeters, and that's considered the height. We'll move the ruler out of the way. Finish that off here. Again, 5 centimeters. The base is running along this way, so we'll go ahead and rotate our ruler to figure that out. We'll bring it over, and we can see that the base is looks like it's 3.3 centimeters, so we will write that down, 3.3 centimeters. So that is 3.3 centimeters. Remember, the area is for a triangle is 1/2 of the base times the height. So we have 1/2 of the base, which is 3.3, times the height, which is 5. We'll bring in the calculator, we'll clear out our previous entries, and we'll have 0.5, which again is 1/2, times the base, which is 3.3, times the height, which is 5, and our answer is 8.25 centimeters squared. Our answer is 8.25 centimeters squared.